There we go, recording. So what we do is record our Zooms and then we pop them onto our YouTube channel afterwards. I spotlight myself, so it's just my video that comes up. But what I'm going to do is share my screen, and I'm going to bring up Cookie Doo on here. Now, when I'm in here sharing my screen and have Cookie Doo on the screen, I can't see what you guys are putting in the chat at the same time. So if there are lots of questions and I'm not getting back to you, if someone is able to come off mute and just talk to me, that would be really, really helpful. Otherwise, it's like I can't see anything that's going on until I come back. So if someone is able to do that, that would be fantastic. But this is my Cookie Doo screen. I can see your faces. So if you guys can see my Cookie Doo screen, give me a nod. Yes, perfect, perfect. All right, so the very first one we had here was a jelly slice. So my favorite thing, and I think the easiest way to convert a recipe, is to look for something similar. It's the easiest way. Whether you're new to Thermomix or you've had it for a long time, look for a recipe that is similar. So if I start with Cookie Doo and we say jelly slice, what comes up? Here we have a strawberry jelly slice. So maybe go and have a look at this one. Have a bit of a read through the ingredients, the recipe. Is it similar to what you're doing or is it a long way off? And usually you can get a little bit of a feel. So for instance, this is a biscuit and butter base. That might be way off the base that you want to make. So that might not be helpful, but perhaps the filling and the jelly could be really helpful because they actually might be quite similar. So what you can usually do is with something like this is obviously a layered, fairly complex slice to make. You may need to mix and match a couple of recipes. So you may go pitch a base from a different slice and then match it with the filling and the jelly on this one and then sort of put your own recipe together. Be a little bit of trial and error, but this will give you a pretty good idea. So say, for instance, the filling, again, you're not going to use these quantities. You're going to use your own quantities in your own recipe. But these steps over here will be really helpful. So water and gelatin into the bowl. And this is then pretty standard. So if you are using gelatin, this is probably about the sort of temperature it's going to need to dissolve, about the sort of time. Again, if you're doubling that amount, or it's still probably going to be around the same time, it's going to give you a really good idea of temperature and speed. And then you may just need to adjust the time longer or less. The same thing, condensed milk, lemon juice. So if you're doing any sort of a filling similar to that, they're the sort of steps that you want to follow. And then your jelly topping, again, similar sort of thing. So depending on your recipe, your recipe will most likely be in cups and teaspoons. So, or cups and, cups, tablespoons, teaspoons, half cups. So the first thing that you've got to do, and this is where it is a little bit, it isn't, when we develop recipes for Thermomix in our recipe development kitchens, lots of trial and error goes into them, and then they develop it, and then they test it 3 times before they develop it fully as a Thermomix recipe. So keep that in mind when you're doing yours. The first time that you do it in the Thermomix, it probably won't be perfect. And then you'll just need to write all those down, and the next time, make those little tweaks to get it right. And sometimes it's even 2 or 3 times before you get it absolutely perfect. Or, you say, I gave it 2 minutes. I actually didn't need to give it that long, all of that sort of thing. You'll figure out. So it is one where the more that you can write down as you're doing it, the better results that you get. So you can, depending on the way that you cook, if you Google how much does a cup of flour weigh, you can actually get weights for everything pretty easily. Or you cook this like as though you would. So get out your measuring cups and your spoons, but hit your scales back to 0 first, tip your cup of flour in, and then write down how many grams it was. And then do the same thing with all of your measurements. So you're converting the recipe as you're going, and then you're a little bit of trial and error with the steps. But the converting them from cups to weights is pretty easy. That's pretty simple. Tip it in, write down the grams. And then it's usually finding the steps is the tricky part. So this is usually the best thing to do is try and find a recipe that's similar and then go in and pinch those steps. So that's where you will need to write this all down. And again, you know, if you want a different base, have a look for a different one. Here's a completely different base.
Wagon wheel one is
base. So giving you a pretty good different idea. And depending on what you're doing with your baking, the more that you bake in your Thermomix, the more that you'll get used to the sort of speeds. So speed 4 is often a really good speed for like creaming butter and sugar or mixing it together. It is just a little bit of, if I want to use my Thermomix as like a mix master, I just look for a recipe that does a similar step and then do that. Does that make sense? So scones, where's a scone recipe? How does it mix it together in that scone recipe? I'm going to do that with mine and see how that turns out. So that's usually is a pretty good place to start. I'm just going to quickly bring up the recipe community because I think something like a jelly slice, you may struggle to find one that, you know, there isn't a lot of different examples there. Jump onto the recipe community and type in here jelly slice. And what we get here, there's heaps of results. So again, these are people who have converted a slice to something else. So Jeanette Pierce has made this one. She has been a Thermomix team leader for a long time. So I'm going to say this is going to be a pretty good one. But here we go. She's using a different one as well. Slightly different things here. So just another chance. If you jumped in here and you had a look at these, you're probably going to find yourself pretty correct steps and you'll just have slightly different ingredients over there. Yeah? Does that make sense? Yeah. So that's your first sort of tip in terms of baking and things like that. In terms of things like, you know, chopping and crushing and those little steps as you go, it really is experience with your Thermomix to know, you know, what speed will grate, what speed will chop, what's a good speed to mix but not overbeat and all of that sort of thing. It is a lot of experience with your Thermomix, just getting the hang of it. But always going to a recipe that's already been done, that has a similar step, is the best way to just sort of get a bit of an idea of it yourself. Now, the other one was a curry. So again, if we go here and search for a curry, now this is going to be a really broad one. You've got 500 and something results on a curry. So you're going to want to find something similar. So let's narrow that down a little bit more. And let's say that it is a chicken curry. Now, I had a customer the other week who said, I have a recipe here. It is a packet mix curry. And the packet mix says to do this. How would I do that in a Thermomix? And so I directed her to, I typed in the packet name that she had into Cookie Doo. I found a recipe pretty similar. And I said, I would do pretty much exactly this for these first few bits and then pop your mix in and then keep going like this. So it's really pretty easy once you sort of get into it and get a little bit of an idea. So if we jump in here to this creamy coconut chicken curry, this one starts off with making a cauliflower rice. So you're obviously not going to do that. But the rest of this is pretty basic curry sort of stuff. Ginger, garlic, and chili, chop it up, add your onions, cook it all off. So if you are doing a curry that starts off with garlic, onion, chilies, any one of those three, here's your steps. 3 seconds speed 7 is a great speed to be chopping your garlic, chilies, ginger, that sort of a thing. So if you are converting lots of your own recipes, write that down. 3 seconds, speed 7. That's the right speed for doing that fine chopping. Something like onions. Now, this is the other part. This is a TM6 recipe, and this uses the high heat. So this browns the onion off. So this isn't something you can do on a TM5, but the TM5 would be something like possibly 3 minutes, 90 degrees, speed 1, something similar. Still going to cook the onions, won't quite brown. If you have a TM6 though, you can say, I like this step where I put the onion in and it browns the onion off. I want to do this in my curry, but I can't access high heat. So what you can do, jump into this recipe, click into speed 4, and as long as you're using similar quantities, so around 1 big onion, possibly a little bit of garlic and ginger or something similar in there, you can use this browning step out of this recipe, the way of sort of hacking the recipe, and then keep on going with your own stuff. Just jump in and out of the recipe. Does that make sense, or have I confused you all? That makes sense?
That's good. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. So don't be afraid to do that with things like the high temp. It's a really good way to do it. Just pinch the high temp you like out of that recipe, click into that step, use it, and then jump back out. And that way you can sort of manipulate those high heat steps. Obviously, with you with a TM5, it's not so relevant because you don't have access to that. But this is pretty similar. So your onion and garlic, ginger, garlic, and chilies in, onion in, cook that off, then add all of your curry in. So your curry paste, your tomato stock, water, stock, all those things in. 8 minutes, aroma speed 1. So if you are cooking a curry that has around 500 grams of chicken, that's about the time that it needs, about 8 minutes, and then probably another 4 to 6 minutes. So again, use that as your baseline. If you want to do a totally different curry, that's probably about the time that you're going to need to cook the chicken. Yeah? And again, with your speeds and everything like that. Varoma temperature. Now, this uses Varoma temperature particularly because there is cauliflower in the top. If we go and have a look at a different curry recipe that doesn't have things steaming up the top, the temperature won't need to be quite so high. But reverse speed 1, we know that that is enough to cook something like chicken but not shred it up. So again, write that down. And when you're cooking manually, what sort of speed am I going to want to be able to stir something and not chop it up? Reverse speed 1 is good. In those sort of increments, anything under 10 minutes. So again, that is roughly what you would sort of do with a curry. I said curries are there's a lot of different things you can do. If you jump into this one here, here's a totally different one. So this one here, we're going to cut, marinates the chicken first. So bit of a different one, but again, depending on what you're cooking, if this is something that needs to be, marinated or made up, go and take something like this, and this will give you an idea. So measuring out your chicken, you're making up a tikka paste, and then you're getting started. And this is a bit of a longer one. So you're cooking the ghee, you're adding your other things, and then you're putting in your spices, and then you're putting in more. So depending on how your curry is set up, this will give you a pretty good baseline for what you need to do. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yep. So, yeah, your main points are getting your weights right if you are going from conventional back, and then finding a similar recipe is honestly your very best way to get your head around it and get an idea of it. If I jump in here into my created recipes, I have quite a lot in here. Well, not quite a lot, but these are my favorite ones that I use all the time. So to give you an idea, some of these are directly from the recipe community. I've just pulled them over. But I have something here like my pancake recipe. This is a pancake recipe I've made since I was a kid. So to convert this to Thermomix was really easy. I just weighed everything out. So instead of being a cup of flour, I tipped the cup into the Thermomix, wrote down how many grams it was, and that gave me my ingredients. And then I just went to a similar pancake recipe, and it pretty much looked like you threw everything and mixed it together on 10-second speed 4. That worked. I tried it again. I know that it works, so I wrote it all in here. The benefit for me is that it comes up on the screen now. So I love to have it saved in here, and then I just click through the steps, or my kids can help, or whatever it might be. So really helpful to have it saved in here. But similar to, what else have I got in here? Some of these are just straight out of the community. What else have I done? Anzac biscuit. This was just a good old, I think this is maybe out of one of the old CWA cookbooks or something. It's one of my grandma's old cookbooks, where you did everything very traditionally. You heat your butter and golden syrup up over the stove, and then you have boiling water and bicarb soda, and you mix it all together. So again, I just went, well, if I was making this in a Thermomix, instead of heating this over the stove, I'm suppose I'm going to need it to get to about that 90 degrees. I don't want it to be boiling and burning on the bottom, but it needs to melt the butter and combine all of that. So rather than finding a recipe that was similar, these were pretty basic steps. So for me, it was, again, a bit of trial and error in terms of how long it was going to take. So I set the timer for maybe 5 minutes. So I know it's going to need to be about 90 degrees, and I don't know how fast it needs to go. So it was a little bit of playing. Speed 1 was a little bit too slow. Speed 3 was a bit quick. I found that speed 2, that seemed good. And then once I did it the first time, okay, about 3 minutes was enough time to fully melt the butter, have the golden syrup nice and running, have a beautiful, nice mix. And then it doesn't need very long to mix the second step in. And then here, once I added all of my other ingredients, again, I just went biscuit recipe. What speed is it combining everything together that isn't going to chop my oats and make mush out of my mixture? So I went and had a look at a cookie dough Anzac recipe, and this is how it mixed it together. Was about 20 seconds on reverse speed 2. So I popped that step in there, and then gave that a go. And again, a little bit of playing around with it and working it out. But once you do it, you go, oh yeah, that's actually pretty easy. And then the next lot of biscuits, about 20 seconds reverse speed 2 is pretty good for mixing the biscuits together. So it is one of those things, you got to just jump in, give it a go, see what you think. But it is actually, it's not too tricky. Definitely, if you can find a recipe that's similar, is your best way. And with our cookie dough being so big, it's pretty easy to do. But if you can't find it, just jump back to the recipe community, and you can nearly always find something similar over there. I'm just going to jump back in here. I couldn't quite see that chat. Got anything in here? What have we got here? Is there a part of a recipe that I want to save manually as a separate one? Can I do that? Do you mean for the high heat, for instance?
No, well, there's a recipe. There's a braised pork and broccoli pesto recipe.
I can bring up cookie dough in a second if you want to.
Yeah, and the broccoli pesto, we cook it.
Seeing if I can open this one of yours, Robin, and have a look. See if it will work while I'm in Zoom. What have we got? Oh, a berry jam. Okay. And a lemon curd. Yeah, cool. So are these ones that you have already converted?
Yeah, we've tried them, and yeah, they work
you're
really
wanting
well.
to convert.
We have used those descriptions on there before, Joe. Yeah, it works quite well, that recipe. Just wondering how we save that to cookie dough.
And does anybody else have any questions? Shoot them through if you do. Either in the chat box or come off mute and talk to me. But the other thing I will do is jump into the created recipes. Do you want to jump in there and we have a look at how you actually pop your own recipe in? Yeah. I hope I've given you a bit of an overview of, how to do them. Yes, please. Okay. All right, let's do that. But
Joe,
please ask me more questions. There's no
You can't hear. Can you hear me?
No, I can't hear anyone. Is people talking to me?
Mm.
I'm sorry, I can't hear anything. Hang on. Talk again.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay. So my question is, there's a braised pork and broccoli pesto recipe in cookie dough. Okay. And we cook the broccoli pesto like 3 or 4 times a week. And I'm just sick of going into the braised pork to find that part and then have to press cancel out when I've just done that one part. How do I put it in manually so that I've got all the same things and I can, like, it's got the weights and the temperatures, and I haven't worked that part. I mean, I did create our yogurt ones, but yep. It felt like completely different.
Yeah, okay. I'm so sorry, guys. I have not heard a single thing, but I'm hearing you now. So if you've been talking to me, I'm sorry. Okay, so let's have a look. Now, if it is using high heat, you won't be able to, Jess.
Okay.
Because it can only be accessed in a cookie dough set recipe.
I can't remember if it does or not.
Yeah, but everything else you can. So let's have a look.
But we just cook it so much.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
I alter it. Sometimes we put in different herbs and spices. We don't do chili. We do like dukkha, and we change it. But we cook it a lot.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's have a look at this one, for instance. So
You could find it in there. It's braised pork and broccoli pesto. Like if you put broccoli pesto in there, you'll get it.
have a look. Oh dear.
Malachi's favorite is the braised pork, and my favorite part's the broccoli pesto.
Love it, love it. Hang on, let me just find it. Zoom makes my cookie dough a little bit funny, but that's okay. So broccoli.
I've cooked so much that like I know what our favorite ones are.
That's good.
It's the third one there, the pork with broccoli pesto and flatbreads.
All right.
We don't make the flatbreads either anymore. We just buy them.
Okay, so
Because
okay.
our ingredients didn't translate into their flatbread. Like ours turned out really, yeah.
Yeah, because you couldn't have what it was. Okay, so
No.
this is what we can do. If we go add, and let's add to created recipes.
But won't they do the whole thing?
Yeah, but depends on what you want to do.
Just the broccoli pesto part.
Yep. So we'll go here. So where are we up to? What?
That's the bread. That's the bread. That's the bread.
So all the top part. So what you got to do? This is basically yours to edit now. So
Okay.
come in here and you go. All right. So here we are. So first step.
Oh, how did you do that?
Delete.
Oh, how are you doing that?
So just clicking on the 3 dots.
Oh, there.
Yeah. So you start here, yeah? Place oil, garlic, and chili in the bowl.
Yep.
Yep. Now, blend. I don't know whether blend will work because it's a mode, but you could just change that to 10-second speed 10 or speed 8. Very similar. So the blend is just it's a unique TM6 mode. It's basically for when you blend when you've got something really
But I
hot.
am a TM6, so will that save as if I am a TM6?
Maybe it's not all of the modes work in the created recipes. So
Okay.
I'd give it a go and just see. It may work, it may not. It also has the pre-clean built in. That's coming up red, so I'm going to assume.
I don't need that because that's where it stops because you pre-clean before you make the braised pork.
So we go delete, and then we go delete.
Okay.
So you've got this. So then you just go over to ingredients and you go, all right, we don't need the yogurt anymore.
Yep.
Delete. We don't need the flour.
No, you got to start the oil.
Don't need your baking powder. You don't need your salt.
No, you need from there.
So olive oil down.
Yep.
And then we can cut it out back here.
And then you can stop from the,
in the water. So a little bit of playing around.
Okay. You needed the water in there, but yeah, that's okay.
Oh, sorry.
I know, I get what you're saying now because I didn't know how to do that.
Yeah. So this is all you do. And then what you do is you can go confirm, and that's going to save. And then you just go edit this and you just go
broccoli pesto. Okay.
Done. Then you go confirm.
When you're in the recipe, how did you open it up to the parts? How did you open it up to the steps? Or how did you get in there?
So let's go back.
Sorry, I must have missed a step.
It's all good. We do it from any recipe. So when you're in a recipe, you just press add. And
okay.
Add to created recipes. This is basically edit.
Okay.
So you can't do this on your TM6. You can do it on the app and you can do it on the website.
Okay.
Yeah. It's actually not hard. I am not very tech savvy, to be honest. You guys probably think I am because I'm always on Zoom. I'm really not. I'm always call a friend. I need help. And I'm not usually very good on but the app, like the Cookie Do app, is actually really easy to do this. Like they've designed it really well so that it works really easy to do on the app. or I like doing it on like on a laptop because you've got a bigger screen and everything, but it is actually pretty easy to do even from there. So yeah, soon as you hit add to created recipes, it's all editable. So you just click on what you want to edit and then go for it. So the 3 dots will give you the change order, delete, same thing wherever they are. And then you've got your options and yeah. Yes, it's pretty much go for it. So that's how you edit one that's already on Cookie Do. So particularly like that, if you want to take a certain piece out of a recipe. So if I have a look at my own created recipes again, so if I look in here, that's our broccoli pesto there, now ready to go. Some of these recipes are ones that I've developed or I've imported from somewhere else. So say, for instance, this one, this was a recommendation from a customer. She said it's on the recipe community. You got to put it onto Cookie Do and cook it. So this was one, instead of editing it from Cookie Do, if I jump back in here to our recipe, and let's have a look here at Jeanette's jelly slice. If you go and cook Jeanette's jelly slice and you go, yeah, that was pretty much bang on what I wanted, you can then say, I want this on my Thermomix, or I don't have a TM6, but I want it saved in my Cookie Do library so I don't have to go looking for it all the time. You just press add to Cookie Do. So if you have, obviously I've got all my browsers open and it's just clicked it straight through. So I just go confirm and it's going to open up. If that doesn't happen, you just copy the URL. So if you just click at the top and you just go copy, and then you go back to Cookie Do, like so in two different tabs, if that makes sense. I'll go back to this one we were in, if that makes more sense. Go back over here. And then you just go into your created recipes and you press new. And where is our new one here? We're always changing it. Where is it? Add. How do I add one? This is a bit of a difference. I can't see on my screen. Here we go. No, not there. Where is it? Created? No. Oh, they look so different. So created recipes. Can anybody see? Here we go. It's down the bottom. I can't see that. Plus, the big plus there. So here I have create a recipe, which we'll look at in a second, or import. So if you click on that, add to Cookie Do on the recipe community and it doesn't work for whatever reason, don't worry. Copy the URL, press import recipe, and then paste it in here. And it will do it that way. So either, it will take you straight through. So it's done exactly the same thing. It's popped that entire jelly slice up here as an editable thing. So anything that I want to edit now, I just click on. Now, when you put it in here from the recipe community, it doesn't always pick up all of these bits and pieces. So you might have noticed that when we were looking at the last one, all of these sorts of things were actually like highlighted, whereas here they're not. So if I put this on a TM5, this won't matter because you don't have the guided cooking, but on a TM6, you need this to actually come up as a step where you click on, and then it's like guided cooking. So what you just need to do is jump in here and actually add this in. So say 20 seconds, and then your speed, and then your speed. No, I can't. It's a bit tricky when I'm in Zoom. I don't get on my screen. Can we get it to work? Man. Cooking settings. 20 seconds. Can I scroll down? Yep. Not letting me select it. Okay. So I should be able to just tick that down and get the numbers. But I lose a bit of my screen when I'm on Zoom and I can't quite get it. But I hope you can understand what I'm saying, if that makes sense. I should just be able to select speed 8 And then what it will do is become a little highlighted one. So if I move to a different spot, let me see if I can do it then. Let's try this way. I do it on here. See? No, I don't think so. It's cutting, it just keeps on cutting it out. So 3 minutes, 90 degrees, or 3 minutes, sorry. Leave the seconds alone and let's go temperature. No, there we go. It might work. Temperature, 90 degrees. Doesn't like this. All right, 3 minutes. I'll try one more time and I'll start wasting your time. 3 minutes. See, I'm not very good with technology. No, it's not going to work. Doesn't work while I'm in Zoom. My screen's all funny, but I hope that give you an idea. If I clicked on those properly, and it is only while I'm in Zoom. As soon as I get out, that all works perfectly fine, I promise. And on the app, it is really easy to do. So you just select time, temperature, speed. What it will then do is this will come up as black and underlined, and it's then like an actual step. And same thing with this here, like lemon rind. Now, might not matter too much for lemon rind, but then when it comes to biscuits, this isn't going to weigh the biscuits. They don't need to be weighed. Let's have a look. Butter. Where's the butter? Butter. This isn't going to weigh the butter because there's nothing there. But if I go ingredients, if I can, there we go, 360 grams of butter. See how now that's come up? 380 grams butter, and it's highlighted. What that will mean is when it comes up on your TM6 screen, you'll actually be able to touch that butter and it will bring up your scales and say 380 grams, just like with guided cooking. And then if you click here and you're able to actually put the step in on full screen, then you will get exactly the same thing. So then you'll click touch on the 3 minutes, 90 degrees, and it will bring it up as a guided cooking step, and you just turn the wheel to speed 3 and it goes. So it is fully guided cooking once you set this all, but you do need to go and make sure that all of these ingredients are actually highlighted as ones over here. Otherwise, they will just come up as words on your screen. You won't actually be able to be interactive with them on the TM6, if that makes sense. If that hasn't made sense to anyone, please let me know. But it is really, really easy to use. I promise. Zoom makes it seem a lot harder than it is because I can't get on my screen. But these 3 dots over here are all of your options. So if you click on those, you can do things like change the order or delete the steps. And same thing over here. If you click on them, change order, delete ingredients. If I go down, I can add extra steps. So if this is something that I cook, but I don't follow the recipe, I might say, look, actually, in step 2, I like to add, let's say I add 1 litre of milk and Milo, and we'll make a hot Milo. Go 5 minutes. I can. 5 minutes, 90 degrees. Might let me do it now. Speed 3. Done. So in the middle of this recipe, I like to make a Milo with what's in the bowl. There it is. And then I just go change order. Click this, and I like to do this up at the start here. Oh. Where are we going? Here. Move him up like this. So in there, or we can take it right up to the top. Put it in there. Does that make sense? So I've just gone in, I've edited this recipe, and I've put my own full-on step in here. So if you are someone who cooks spag bowl, but you stop and you add extra veggies, do exactly this. If you want to weigh your veggies in, go over here and add yourself an extra ingredient, say 400 grams of mixed veggies. And then just go over here and add it, edit it, plus click ingredient. Let's go veg, mixed veggies. There it is. It's now added in at that step there. Does that make sense? Yeah. So it's really easy then to edit your own recipes, edit the recipe community ones. So this is, we're going to leave an interesting jelly slice here, but that's okay. I'm going to go done. Now, the other thing is, now I can see my little plus, is if I go plus, I can create a recipe. And this is where I start from scratch. So this is particularly if you have your own recipe there that you go, I want to convert this to Thermomix and I want to put it onto Cookie Dough so that I can cook with it. So if you have your good old-fashioned jam drops, create. And then you go in here and you do exactly the same thing. You want to add ingredients, list everything that you need, add your steps. Again, use this for your cooking settings, use this for your ingredients, and it will automatically tag the weight across, so your scales will activate, and pop it all in here, and then you just click confirm. So that's how you add your own manual recipe. Now, in terms of copyright and things like that, if you are popping your own recipes that you have developed onto Cookie Dough, you absolutely can. It's not a problem. You can't share these created recipes. They'll just stay on your Cookie Dough library. But if you want to share them, then put them onto the recipe community. So over on the recipe community, you create yourself an account. This is a free community. Create yourself an account, create a recipe, and then everybody can see it. Everyone can import it to their Cookie Doughs. What it means is, if it's on here, is Cookie Dough do go through the recipe community, like Vorwerk behind Cookie Dough, and they pick out recipes, and they may release a cookbook one day, and they will put your recipe in it. And that has happened to one of our Newcastle consultants. She got a recipe in one of their cookbooks, which she was very, very excited about. And it's, of course, using all of her terminology, tagging her name and all that sort of a thing. But if you are a recipe developer and you're selling your recipes, you may not want that. So that is why we sort of say you can't go and put recipes out of cookbooks, out of, say, skinny mixes onto the recipe community or onto Cookie Dough, because technically you don't, if you don't own them, you can't put them on there, because if Vorwerk do decide they want to use it, it's not yours in the first place to have given to them, if that makes sense. If we want to get into the nitty-gritty in terms of Cookie Dough and what you can put on here, to take a recipe from being someone else's to being your own, you need to change 10% of it. Now, I'm going to leave that with you to go and research and work out what 10% of what is. That's not for me to say, but if you're taking recipes and you're altering them a lot, or if you're converting them to Thermomix from conventional, you're changing them an awful lot anyway. When you're popping them onto Cookie Dough, it's here nor there. But yeah, otherwise we're not to go putting skinny mixes, for instance, or any of those other ones onto Cookie Dough, because we don't technically own them, if that makes sense. So anything on the recipe community is good to go. It's free for all. And then obviously everything else that's in here. We can do it from anything that is like a free platform. So if someone has put their recipe online and they're happy for it to be shared or whatever, then you're fine to import it. But whilst ever it's someone's, paid recipe, we're not supposed to be popping them on there into the Cookie Dough library. All right, we have a quick look here at the chat. No worries at all, Beck. Thank you for jumping on. If anyone else has to go, you're most welcome to. But that's pretty much it in terms of importing recipes, creating recipes and converting them. Does anybody have any questions? Or is there anything that I haven't covered that you wanted to know that you thought you might have got out of tonight that you didn't? Just let me know.
So because I've created recipes for Malcolm and I, obviously because we have to change ingredients. If I've created some without knowing about the modes and the ingredient part, can I just go in and edit them like you did with the one you transferred across, or do I have to do it again?
Yeah, so you where the ingredients are not highlighted and that, is that what you mean?
Yeah, in one that I've created.
Yeah, just go in and edit it.
Okay, so it would work the same as
Yeah.
the one you transferred across.
Yeah, exactly the same. So this is this is one you fully created from start.
Yeah, like the yogurt one, because I had to create our yogurt.
Yes. Yeah. So if you just pop in here, like, let's go 1 liter of milk.
Yeah.
Done. Then when you go to your step, you go here.
So, okay, I didn't understand what they were.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. That's what we do this for. So you can. So go 1 liter of milk, and then it'll come up like that.
Right.
And
Okay.
then
So if I've already got it written in just plain, I can go in and edit what I wrote.
yeah. So what I usually do is I leave it there, and then I just go either side. So if I've already got like one liter milk, I just click like here and do it so that I don't forget what I've written, if that makes sense. And then go back and just, all right, take out my part and do that for the recipe.
Okay. And my other question is, a lot of the recipes we do, or I do, create manually. Like we don't. So say a recipe says they use 100 grams of chopped onion. We can't use the onion. We use the equivalent of, so 100 grams of onions, about 2 teaspoons of onion flakes.
Yep.
But then it chops them, and then it's a longer. So I have to alter the temperatures. I have to alter, like, obviously we don't need to chop it because it's already chopped and things like that. Can I just delete that stuff out? Is that what you were showing us before? Like in the edit, I can just delete those steps out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whoa, this is going to speed up my cooking.
And look, you might not want to do it with everything, but particularly if you've got like favorite.
I have to do it for onion. Onion's the big one.
Yeah. And if you've got favorite recipes that are on rotation.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, just do that. So jump in, edit them, and yeah, literally. So that's where you can merge steps, you can delete steps, you can edit them. Yeah, however you need them to look. And what I say, do your first one and then open it on your Thermomix and see how it looks, because sometimes, like, when I first started doing them, I was doing like a step for every little thing, and then I went, actually, I can put 2 together because I actually don't mind having multiple things on the one step. Yeah, so you'll be able to tweak it all once you start playing with it a little bit more.
That's cool. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I have like some of my biscuit recipes and things that's like all my ingredients come up together. So when I actually click on the first one, I get all the ingredients listed, and then the scales just come up. So I just tear it back between, but everything is listed there. So for me, that's super quick rather than going next. They're just all listed. So it just depends on how you work. And yeah, same things with, like, if it's like scrape down and repeat, I don't need another step to tell me to do that. Like, I just scrape it, if you know what I mean. So it's open. So you can just edit it, have as little or as many steps as you want. And yeah, just jump in. So I'll often just pull out my phone, jump into the app and just go edit. I don't need that step anymore. I want an extra step, want to edit this, whatever. And you'll do it in 2 minutes. It's really quick.
I'm going to have fun with this. This is going to be good.
That's good. But that's the big secret, is actually having the cooking settings come from here, and then the ingredients come from here, because that's where it will bring up the scales on the Thermomix. Yeah. Cool. Any other questions or anything else that you guys want to know before we jump off? Throw them at me. If there is anything else, I'm a little bit behind with what I've got on YouTube, so I'm sorry. I'm trying to catch up. My internet is really, really slow, so it takes hours to upload these Zooms to YouTube, and I'm not often at home with a laptop open for hours. So let's try to find a tricky time to get them on there. But next week we're going to have a look at another bread class. So we're going to do naan bread, wraps, and gluten-free, grain-free rolls. If you're interested in that at all. And the following week, we're going to call it a TM6 showcase. So we obviously have at the moment, the TM5 trade up deal is about to happen soon. So those are the TM5 with the option to trade in for a TM6. So we thought, let's just highlight all of the, big features that a TM6 can do. For those who have a TM6, you might want to jump on anyway, because I'm sure you'll pick up a few little things. But we'll be using all those high heats, using modes, doing all that sort of fun stuff, that the TM6 can do. So they're our next couple of Zooms. Locally, we have booked the CWA hall at Gloucester for, I think it's about the 3rd of October. We'll get all of this out as flyers soon. The 3rd of October at 7 p.m. for a bit of like an open house, Thermomix open house. So if you have a Thermomix, doesn't matter what model, turn up, cook with us, learn about your Thermomix. If you want to see a Thermomix, turn up and have a look. It's a free event. We'll be there from 7 till 9. We'll be showing Cookie Doo and what it can do and the Thermomix and all that sort of stuff. So if you know anyone around the Gloucester area who would like to come, please let them know. It's absolutely free. They can turn up. And then on the 7th of October, we are going to be at Port Macquarie for a cooking class. Again, just about to advertise it all. It's a lunchbox class. So it's a $45 ticket to come along. But we're doing a lunchbox makeover, so doing a heap of different lunchbox treats there. So that'll be a 2-hour class, and that is an evening as well, so 7 till 9. We're into daylight savings then, so we'll do those sort of bit longer nighttime classes. But then we've got November and maybe a Christmassy thing for Christmas. Would anyone be keen for a Christmas class? Yeah. We ran a Christmas in July a couple of years ago, and it was a bit of fun. We did it at Tari. If you guys are keen for a Christmas class, I think it might not be a bad idea. We're trying to get a few more little classes happening in the area. So just